Maggie Rogers' Surrender album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning, here tonight, playing a little catch up, chatting about this new album from Maggie Rogers, Maryland-based singer, songwriter. You know her. She started making some waves a couple of years ago, mostly due to the success of big singles like On and Off and Alaska. These were pretty big at the time, and they made up a good bulk of her debut album, Heard It in a Past Life. And honestly, I was very lukewarm on the album. It's fine. A lot of the singles are very well performed, showed some pretty cool elements of folktronica, indie pop, well produced as well, and they were also all very passionate. Maggie Rogers wears her heart on her sleeve, and that's a big plus in her book. But a lot of the deep cuts on this album, I thought personally, did not add up to what she had been putting out. Which leads me to her latest album, Surrender. Was not an album that I was overly excited by, mostly because a lot of the singles, they were fine. Let's chat about this thing. Let me start off by saying the material that is good on this album is some of the best material that Maggie has put out, period. Take, for example, this album's intro, Overdrive. This track is awesome and one of the best tracks Maggie's ever done. It's got a really powerful piano riff, there's some really tasteful synths as well, and her vocals, truthfully, maybe some of the best she's ever done. And it has so much depth to it. I'm so impressed by the cinematic edge to this track. It's not flimsy at all. It just has a great backbone to it. It's a really solid track, and not only that, it sums up her sound very well. Anywhere With You is also really masterfully done. Once again, it is cinematic as hell, and really visual too, impressively so. At the end of the day, I really do think that less is more with Maggie's music. If you really focus on her a little bit more, I think that the end result would be a lot better. She has been an emotional singer and songwriter since day one. But then you get the pounding drums of this track and everything else that makes it just sound so gutsy at the end of the day that it's actually pretty memorable. It's almost 5 minutes in length, but it breezes by really easily, and the first thing I wanted to do when it was over was listen to it again. It ends up being a real anthem for her. I could say a lot of the same things on Be Cool. No pun intended. This track is just straight up really cool. Maggie just sounds so sure of herself here. It is so silky smooth. Add in some wonky production and a sort of experimental instrumental, at least as far as Maggie Rogers' music goes. It's pretty impressive. And guess what? She really nails it. All around, this is a great sound. And Shatter is really good too. I mean, I knew she had to make some changes based on her debut album, but a heavy dose of synths and a couple of nods to new wave, that is not what I was expecting. It's upbeat, it's intense, it's just so emotionally potent. It reminds me a lot of what Mitski was doing on her album from earlier this year. It's everything that Maggie usually brings to the table, but just amplified with the energy up a little, and that, for me at least, does a lot. Especially for somebody like me who's, been very lukewarm on her music in the past. This just definitely makes it pop. It's just really also nice to hear her turn the volume up a little and just freak out a little. It's nice. Like I said, when this album's good, I actually think it's some of the best stuff Maggie's put out in general. The only issue is it is put up against some of her worst material. That's Where I Am. This track was a single, and truthfully, it is infuriating. The instrumental and the crap production here do nothing but detract from Maggie, who should be the star here. And more often than not on this track, her vocals are still very heartfelt, pretty spectacular even, but overall, I just feel like there's such a massive disconnect on this track that it just annoys me more than anything. And I know that she was heavily influenced by Miss Sharon Van Etten, but hearing this track, she just sounds like a Sharon Van Etten cover act. Not a very good one either. And Want just absolutely sucks. Ever since I heard this track as a single, it's just done nothing but annoy me. This chorus, come on, Maggie, I know for a fact that you are so much better than this, and this instrumental just sounds like she's trying to cram so much in. It's not very flattering. I mean, it's certainly passionate, but that's just not enough for me on this track. Sorry. Oh boy, and then we get tracks like Horses. Once again, this was a single. And listen, once again, I commend Maggie's emotions. This track is really potent still, and you can tell that this track just meant so much to her. But as far as I'm concerned, it's really faceless. This sounds like it could have been a who's who of indie songstresses. And it goes on forever, and Begging for Rain isn't that much better. I don't know who thought a lo-fi rainy day ballad would be a good choice, but I can assure you it's really not. It's just so average and once again faceless, and that's so tragic because once again, as far as an emotional performance goes, Maggie ain't messing around. It's all in the delivery and the packaging. I just feel like I could have heard this track from 8 different artists. I mean, the synths are nice once again. The backing vocals add a lot too. I mean, I guess this isn't the worst sin committed here, but overall, I mean, it's just very blah. The final leg of this album is just as back and forth. I've got a friend. Jesus, I will start going back to church before I start listening to this. This sounds like the Hallmark Channel reached out to Maggie for a crap movie theme. I was not prepared for this much cheesy bullshit. This is one of the worst things I've heard all year. It is way too cutesy, and I just know that Maggie could do so much more than this. But then we get Honey, and it's just so bluesy and bold and big sounding. I don't know where this came from. Maggie here sounds like such a presence. This instrumental is just so huge and colorful and swirling around her, and she sounds great. It's got a little spunk to it. I mean, it has some color as well. How is this album so hot and cold? And Symphony, for a plus 5-minute track late into the album, this may be the best track here. I love the warm rhythms that we get here and the hypnotizing percussion. I don't know where any of that came from. And Maggie's vocals, which are just so blissful and sweet. This track sounds like nothing else on this entire album. It's a huge risk, but it's one that really pays off. I can't stop listening to it. It just seems so mature, dare I say progressive. But then we get Different Kind of World as a finale, and it's fine. I mean, it's certainly heartfelt, some real nice, emotional indie rock, but I couldn't tell you this was a Maggie Rogers track. Not if my life depended on it. It's just kind of here wrapping things up. This album is incredibly hot and cold. The good material here is easily some of Maggie's most progressive and mature material to date, and some of her most standout tracks show up on this album. A lot of it impresses me. The only issue is it is so cold at times, with tracks that befuddle me and just make me realize that Maggie's a whole lot better than this album is. It's a very hot and cold album. It's not for me at the end of the day. I'm feeling a strong 5 on this album, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.